Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wano deck deep dive as we are going in with the first of the Southpack divisions and we're gonna go into first Luftlande because if you follow the channel over the last couple of days you know that this is the division I have played by far the most and I also had by far the most success with. To be honest, the other ones haven't really clicked for me yet. I'm gonna figure them out, but it will take a while. And first Luftlande though, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on it. So let's jump right in and let's talk the deck build itself. As always, you can find a link down below where you can find all my deck lists and all the codes to my decks if you want to copy them over and just play them yourself. And yeah, let's get into this. And let's start with the logistics step where we have 5 of the CVs here. This is the main CV slot because tank tab gets expensive really quickly. Infantry, you need a good mix of stuff, so having 5 CVs here is a good start. And then 2 cards of supplies, it's all 2-cost slots, so that's affordable enough as well. And you don't spam artillery enough that you need more than this, so having the 2 cards of supply and then the 5 CVs fits well. 1 with 3 availability, 1 with 4 deployment, so that you can get a point lead on maps where that is important on as well. So Führungs there, pretty helpful with that. And that means you don't need to take the Fallschirmjäger Führer over here, which is pretty pricey for a 6-man squad. And the Gebirgsjäger Führer for 50 points has a lot more utilities. That's our 6th and 7th leader in this. So 7 leaders in total, that's a fine number. And the Gebirgsjäger Führer with anti-tank, anti-air, and smoke is a perfect mix. It can protect itself against enemy recon vehicles that try to roll on it. It can smoke itself up if it gets pushed, and it can shoot down something like a recon helicopter or like a Gazelle cannon or so trying to hunt down your CV as well. So Gebirgsjäger Führer actually a really nice utility one, and the price is pretty fair as well with 50. So that's why we take these guys. And then we come to the normal infantry, and here we have important, really capable infantry on infantry units, like the Gebirgsjäger and the Hochgebirgsjäger especially. These are super important for the opener. They are absolute elite machines. The Mountaineer plus Special Forces trait in the forests are crazy. I rank them as my top favorite new unit out of the DLC because I really love using these. And they're one of the main reasons why I like this division a lot. So yeah, these are key for winning infantry fights early on and taking the territory where your division is supposed to be strong. Fallschirmjäger Reservisten are kind of the opposite for the opener. These are not that strong, but they're okay. And they're pretty cheap for 4 deploy infantry. And still have the fighting capabilities of beating recon squads. So if the enemy sends a 4-man recon squad that dies against this, if the enemy sends a light vehicle, recon vehicle into this, it dies as well because the Carl Gustav is a solid AT launcher as well. And that's all you need out of your 4 deploy unit like this, because this is the flank protection here. Fallschirmjäger, the normal one, would just be too expensive for it. The Panzerfaust 3 has a bit more pen, but you're not gonna run into heavy tanks usually with this unit. And this even has more range, so the Carl Gustav even a bit better against light vehicles with 4 or less, with 2 or less frontal armor that one-shots against 3 or more. It's actually a bit weaker because it doesn't quite one-shot them, but a lot of the scout vehicles have light armor, like a Lux or so, or the Foxes or the LAV, so there the Carl Gustav is quite nice. And then we have the Gebirgsjäger, which are your reinforcement heavy infantry squad that can win infantry fights quite reliably with 11 hit points, medium machine gun plus 3/3, and the Panzerfaust 44 is fine as well. And this is quite nice. The normal Gebirgsjäger Pioneer only has 10 hit points, doesn't have the sniper rifle, and the satchel charge doesn't really go well with the medium machine gun, which has a minimum range, so it's not great for town fights. Same goes for the Fallschirmjäger Pioneer. The German Pioneers are not the greatest there. I like the Flam one, but you don't get them here. So normal Gebirgsjäger, 2 cards it is instead, and upvetted them so that they really can win those infantry fights. The UH-1D is unfortunately a bit too slow, so all of them come in the truck. So at 85 points for a pretty beefy infantry squad, that's quite nice. Only the Panzerfaust 44 is a bit of a weakness there. And that kind of stays with the Panzer Grenadiers. So these guys you mostly get for a transport. The WADA 1A1 Milan is a pretty nice one. It currently has a bug that smokes to the rear. Once that gets fixed, it should be just as good as a normal Marder for most of the parts, that the rear turret can't engage infantry in front of it. Is a bit of a weakness, sure, but it's not a big one. And The Milan that you get out of it is nice. The zero vet is pretty rough. These guys are just filler. You have often quite a lot of points lying around with this deck, and then you can just spend this to fill a gap so that the enemy can't exploit it. Have autocannons there, have ATGMs coming around. Like, you don't really want to push with these Panzer Grenadiers or the Martyrs because they get stressed out so quickly and then they just become completely combat inefficient. But as a defensive tool, they're really good, and with 19 of them against non-mechanized decks, you can really hold those areas where mechanized forces are important really well against light divisions, and against heavy divisions you at least have some IOV to combat them, though you really shouldn't go on the offensive, as I said. Especially as the autocannon of the Martyrs is really bad if it doesn't get the extra accuracy and rate of fire of the veterancy. And then we have the big squad with the Luftgebirgsjäger, which are also coming in a relatively fast helicopter with the CH-53, though quite expensive. But getting these guys into a forest and running them around, like, they can beat any other infantry squad with 60 hit points. They have a great DPS, sniper rifle stunning down everything as well. The Calcu stuff helps them out against vehicles as well. They can run down some of them in the forest because they don't have the speed penalty, so they go with 24 kmh instead of 18 through the forest, and that is really nice as well. Calcu stuff, solid launcher, and this is really the one that you want to hold a single forest with on their own, basically, or send 2 or 3 of them to just push through a town or a forest and just completely take it. And then we have the Fallschirmjäger Power Milan, because having forward deploy Milan 2s is just really nice. And you get enough Milan 1s here with the Martyrs that I don't think you need more ATGM cards here. As if the Fuchs, you would want to take one, it would be the Milan 2 with the Fuchs Milan 2, but I feel like the Martyr is just the safer choice there. So, forward deploy Milans here, more Milans on the Martyr, plus we get more ATGMs in the tank tab as well. Artillery is a pretty simple tab. 155mm artillery, the Feldhaubitze is fantastic, great rate of fire for its price. Like, the extra shot compared to most other 155mm howitzers for only like 5 or 10 points price difference is super good. The range is good as well, so the accuracy is good. This is a fantastic artillery piece. Just reposition it and you live. M109 is quite nice as well because it's easier to reposition, but the shorter range reduces its accuracy by quite a lot. So considering how cheap the Feldhaubitze is just better. Just have to micro it a bit. And the Panzermörser is there to help you out of smoke so that your infantry can get into the spots. And you could also do that with a really high veterancy M65. Like, those are the 2 options that you have here. There is a argument for this one as well, because it has the same aim time basically, but it shelf flies faster. Like, they don't have the long trajectory arc of the mortars, so you set the smoke wall up faster, and it is a bit better at sniping light units. But the Panzermörser is mobile and it can lay out more smoke out there, so I would argue it's also a bit cheaper to resupply. I would argue that the Panzermörser maybe is the more reliable option here. Then we come to the tank tab, and this one is pretty limited. We have, for the openers especially, the Leo 1A1, A2, as 2-vet Leo 1s are really nice. This one gets the extra pen for 5 points. That is fair. The extra pen is pretty helpful against other light tanks and even being able to damage some heavier tanks. The 1A1A1 coming at 0-vet, this is not how you want to use these light tanks. And the M48 is coming at 0-vet as well, but it has the better survivability with the better frontal armor, and it has the same pen gun. It only loses the stabilizer and an MG and a bit of speed, but it's 10 points cheaper with better survivability. And I feel like that's kind of what you want out of these M48s. Like, just like the Martyrs on 0-vet, you don't want to use them aggressively all that much, and if, then only in spam waves, and then the extra survivability is nice as well. And then saving the 10 points is nice. And on the defense, they're just as good as the Leo, or even better, with the same rate of fire. And same pen, but better frontal armor. So M48s, they're quite nice as the support. And then Jaguars and Krakatoas to control the open fields as well. Jaguar with the TOW 2 also giving you an option to really deal good damage to heavy tanks, and coming around with that. Krakatoa, same thing. I prefer it a bit over the Milan. You have enough Milans in the infantry tab, and sometimes you need that extra range and the extra accuracy just to be a bit more reliable. And yes, it costs 5 points extra, but that's worth it. And nice mix up here to the Milans, because some open fields, that extra bit of range is just really key. So there you take the Krakatoa instead of putting in a Milan team or Marder. So Krakatoa here instead of the Milan 2 Kraka to take the choice there. Reconnaissance, a really good tab. Because you don't have good engineers in the infantry tab, Fallschirmjäger B1 have you covered in CQC. They also have a Panzerfaust 3. They go insanely well with the Hochgebirgsjäger in the opener. Like one of the Hochgebirgsjäger plus one of the Fallschirmjäger B1, and you win basically every forest fight. Fallschirmjäger B1 can murder any vehicle, and on the long range, the Hochgebirgsjäger stun the enemy down. Fallschirmjäger goes into the infight and just deletes them with the insane DPS of the MP5s at the HK21 in CQC. The Gebirgsjäger Aufklärer, a really solid one as well. 10 hit points, has a Panzerfaust, can hold the flank nicely, can scout for you, and comes in another light recon vehicle that can go with your tanks and vehicles and spot a bit for them as well, with the good optics, plus another little vehicle that you can use for repositioning or just using as a smoke bait. It goes pretty well with the Leo 1A5 to bait out enemy shots, and then the Leo 1A5 can re-engage them. That's your only tank with 2275 meter range. And there is a bit of an argument for using them with 0 vet, but the 1 vet buff is just too good. So even though you lose 1 availability and go down to only 2 tanks with max range, this is worth it, I think, to just get a bit more cost efficient. And this deck is all about cost efficiency in the early game. Like, your infantry units are actually relatively expensive, so you don't get endless numbers, but you need to have them as efficient as possible. So Leo 1A5 here goes in with that. The Alouette comes in as a spotter for air openers. If you don't want to do anything fancy, also helps out with the other stuff. If you really want to rather open up with a CL-289 and you don't feel like recon helicopter into air rush or so, you can use it. Looks, you can use any of the other infantry as well. Like, all these recon infantries are viable options. I feel like the Alouette would be the first thing to go, as you also have the fast drone. But as I use this deck quite often with air openers as well, as you might have seen in the latest videos and the streams, the Alouette is there to enable that, because the CL-289 is not staying long enough above the enemy target to really keep the spotting on. It's moving away too fast and doesn't have the turn radius to really keep an eye on a single individual enemy unit, which I think is good design. I like that part of this. I think they're only a bit OP because of how units can engage them, or rather not engage them. But yeah, currently the CL-289 is a must. It's just a really efficient recon tool and gives you so much intel in the early game about what the enemy can do and not do. Bait out enemy fighters as well, so that you might have an advantage on the ground, because the enemy kind of has to open with a fighter against it, or you can bait it into your fighters and just kill it. Like, but yeah, we will see how Eugen goes about that and nerfs this thing. It's in a really good spot right now, so you absolutely have to take it. AA is pretty limited, and you start with the Gepard, and that's your only radar AA. That's your only mid-range AA that you get as well. Key for killing helicopters, but especially important for killing dive bombers and other aircraft that go over your lines. So you usually want to have them in groups of 3 or 4, so that they actually kill. Pushing away enemy planes can work out as well if you go for an early victory, but usually you want to have them in a group where they actually kill the enemy plane, so that the enemy can't just completely overwhelm you there. And then you get them out of there and just use them this way. The 20mm is your only forward deploy AA, so that's why we bring them here, to help out your forward deployment against helicopters. Super important there. Killing off enemy helicopters with these things is really key, and you usually want to have 2, 3, or 4 even around in the opening deployment, and they can also engage infantry nicely, so they are still dual purpose, but main thing is keeping enemy helicopters at bay and killing them off if they try to run down your infantry or your opening Leo 1A5s or so, because that can happen quite often. It's not useful against planes, really. Kind of same thing for the Iltis. Zwilling, though you want to have them at least give a chance to actually shoot at a plane that dives around them, and that's why we take them at 2 vet. Like, it helps out with the cost efficiency and fire support against infantry and helicopters as well, and makes them a good bit more reliable against helicopters, so that the enemy won't get away. The extra accuracy there is big, but it's especially key that you if you already have a plane coming towards you, get the better aim time so that you just get those couple of bursts out that you otherwise often wouldn't. Like the 0.2 seconds is actually significant in that case, going from 2 to 1.84 seconds. Or 0.16 is even only, but that's just a couple of milliseconds that it allow you to just get the shots out and deal some damage, and that often can be the difference of your Gepards finishing the job or the enemy being out a bit longer for repairs and so on. And plus, when they shoot, they also deal more damage and so on. So Zwillinge on max vet here. You want to not overinvest into AA anyway. It's not that great, so yeah, might as well go for max vet here and keep on spamming more infantry so that you can replace losses even if the enemy bombs you, or invest more into air and kill the enemy that way. BO-105, Pa 1A1, fantastic little helicopter, can hold enemy armored pushes quite nicely on its own until the enemy brings AA, or bait enemy fighters over your Gepards and so on. Like, this is a key part of these little helicopters as well, trying to bait enemy planes to dive actually and get shut down, getting closer to your guns. So BO-105, really, really key little helicopter. The light one can work out as well. I just like the extra pen here, because heavy tanks, you kind of struggle against otherwise, and yeah, having something that deals a bit more damage, has a bit higher accuracy here, is quite nice. And then we have the air tab, which a lot of people have been discussing about. I'm actually pretty happy with this air tab. And I feel like it plays in a really cool way. You might have seen my opener with all the 5 Alpha Jets, all the 3 Alpha Jet Kampfwertsteigerung, and the HFB 320 ECM plane. And I'm absolutely in love with this thing. This opener can work. The 40% ECM that your Alpha Jets go up to with the AIM-9Ls, like, they actually can tank a lot. This thing also comes with free veterancy, which is big because it gives it another 8% evasion. So this goes up from 60% ECM to around 70% ECM, because evasion is actually worth more than ECM because it gets, like the calculation is a bit complicated. You can't find it on Voyas how it all works, but it's actually worth more than ECM. So, because they don't get added upon, but they get like calculated before, and then the ECM comes into play and so on. And that is really helpful. The stress recovery actually is quite nice as well, and the stress resilience, because this thing will get shot at a lot. So having it be able to stay on the battlefield a bit longer and give protection to your other planes is key, because most of the shots added will be misses. And if you bring this in first, then the enemy shoots all the missiles there, and then your Kampfwertsteigerung can shoot at the enemy. That's pretty big. You can do the same with the F4Fs, and this is really the key part about this. The HFB in front or next to the F4Fs makes these so much more reliable at killing enemy planes, because they actually get their missiles onto the enemy quite reliably that way, and the enemy will miss enough shots that your plane at least gets to shoot all the missiles and kill it too, or even survive. And that is really, really key. And for 155 points, that is absolutely worthwhile. One of the best ECM planes we have, because it also is maneuverable. Like, a lot of the other warfare planes have the issue that they're kind of hard to control and keep around the other planes. The lower speed actually is helpful here, and the low turn radius is really, really key for the HFB. And the tornado seat is really key as well, because it allows your Alpha Jets to get through, and you can always scare the enemy off and can force a big air win in the late game. Plus, it is also key for winning air dominance, because it has solid AIM-9Ls air-to-air missiles as well. It has 50% ECM. Flying this one in first, F4F behind, next to E warfare plane, this thing goes up to 70% ECM. Everything shoots their missile on the tornado. Tornado might go, seat might go down, but eats all the missiles, and then your F4Fs with the better AIM-9Ls can get onto the enemy target and actually kill them. And that's a key part as well. You really need to play a lot around this air tab. The Kampfwertsteigerung with the Mavericks, great against enemy tanks, can, with the ECM plane here, spotting enemy radar AA, also be used as kind of secondary seat to shoot at enemy AA. Alpha Jet rockets have a solid reload time and actual good burst rate to kill off enemy light vehicles and enemy gun teams like and even infantry squads completely. Like the loadout with 76 snaps is enough to kill an infantry squad. That is pretty key as well. And the gun on him is helpful as well to just maybe get a bit of damage on a helicopter, kill off an enemy infantry squad or so as well. And that is a really nice tab. If you want to go on full air spam, you can also put an F4F or another Kampfetch Steigerung in here. Like, that is optional as well. I have played this deck that way as well, where I take out Zwilling, where I take out the Kraka and one of the infantry Gebirgsjäger cards, and then I put a Leo 1A1 leader in so that I have a bit more in the ground, and put in the last card of Kampfetch Steigerung. That's an option as well. So yeah, strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, strong air support, fantastic forward deployment, and then solid, cheap mechanized support. The weaknesses, no long range AA, obviously. Second weaknesses, no high level tanks. Like, you end at Leo 1A1s, and yeah, you have the recon ones, but that's not really gonna save you there. And I also would say that another weak, like that, those are really the big ones. And yeah, what else is really a big weakness here? I would say the lack of veterancy on the Panzer Grenadiers is pretty big as well. Like, no upvetted IFVs is pretty rough as well, so you need to play them defensively. Like, this is not second Panzer Grenadier, where you can just run around with Panzer Grenadiers and Martyrs and just shred everything. Martyrs on 0 vet are far cry from even Martyrs on 1 vet, and especially Martyrs at 2 vet. Like, the difference there is insane. So, yep. Let me know down below what you think about first Fallschirmjäger, and see you all in the next one. Bye bye.